I'm
My
Zach.
first question to you is, what can you do to make sure that these grassroots agencies receive the support from Congress and are being heard? Yes.
Thank you again. And, as I said in my opening remarks, I've lost track of how many times I've been working at a food pantry and seen a bunch of young people with ICNH t-shirts. So I thank you for all that you've done. We put massive amounts of money through the CARES Act into relief services, both in, suspending foreclosures and making sure that people couldn't be evicted. Huge amounts of food aid to try to get that turned around, and connecting with some of our farmers who couldn't get resources to market. It made a huge difference. Getting schools in a position to distribute food. Did we do enough? As long as there's still somebody hungry, I doubt it. I hope, Zach, that your question doesn't suggest that you had any difficulty in accessing those aid programs, because certainly we were working overtime to try to make sure that those programs were getting to the people with boots on the ground who could actually make sure it got into the affected communities. And if there's things we can do better, because I'm sure we weren't perfect, please let us know, and hopefully we'll learn something that we don't ever have to use again, because I don't want to see that much free fall in society. But I don't, it's not my understanding, unless you tell me to the contrary, that there was anything about that would have in any way constrained your access to those resources. Is my understanding of your question different from that, or did you have someone take those programs?
No, and I do hope you can hear me, Congressman. My question was mainly to continue the ongoing support and the funding that we so deserve and need. So it was just as far as you are concerned, how Congress can continue to support us and how we can be heard.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I do have a second question.
If I could just add one more thing on that, Zach.
Can you hear me?
Specific to food aid, one of the things that happened through COVID that I think we learned about gaps in our system and improved them, and I hope we keep them, is so many of the food pantries historically have depended on the food producers to give them excess supply. And they really don't have access to nutritionally complete meals. It's really hard to get fresh produce at a food pantry, or much less, baking supplies and staples that you need to cook with, but it's easy to get boxes of Fruit Loops. And when we had the sort of the fall off in both in the delivery systems through the COVID period and some of the agricultural systems, we were able to staple that with some of the farm aid programs. And I'm sure, as you know, those boxes, those CFAT boxes that actually got good fresh produce and and meats and all the things that people needed into those boxes. And increasingly, a lot of folks like the Northern Illinois Food Pantry that really got to tailor that was hugely useful. And I think one of the questions we have right now is how do we maintain that? Because if we go back to the world where folks are going back to the food pantries and saying, okay, this is great, but now I'm eating a lot of processed food again, we've missed something. But I think it's a challenge to do that. And we've got some great, advocates for food pantries. But if you have good ideas on that, let's keep in touch.
Thank you. And I have another question to ask you as well. How can we work with your district office to keep an ongoing conversation on district refugee needs? Please identify how your office can help us continue providing these much needed services to the immigrants and the refugees that we serve. Thank you.
So the really short answer is to please make sure that any resources and contacts you have get in touch with our office. We are, regularly working with constituents who need services, and we are obviously, a facilitator of resources in those cases. There are some terrific entities in the area, like World Relief and DuPage and others. But to the extent that you have services we can help connect to, and frankly, a sounding board we can come through, follow up with us. My district director, Laura Schock, would be your first point of contact, but you can go through the website, casten.house.gov, and make sure that all of our caseworkers, focused on immigration issues and others, if they're not on a first name basis with the right people in your organization, they should be, and please follow up.